Alrighty, so another news of the week episode as we're getting closer before the regular season begin. In fact, this is one of the last news of the week episode I'm going to do before the 2022 MLS regular season starts next week. But the first news that we're going to talk about come out of New England and specifically Bruce Arena. It was announced that he has signed a multi-year contract to stay as the head coach for the New England Revolution. Now, this is definitely good news for the Revs because there was definitely that talk that maybe Bruce Arena is thinking about retirement. I mean, there's even that crazy talk that Bruce might even think about retiring this off season, which, I clearly don't believe that because I feel like he's gonna stay with the Revs at least for one more year and want to give this team an MLS Cup before riding off to the sunset. Well, it seems like that's not going to be the case just yet because, again, he signed a multi-year contract. Though I will say that he doesn't have to commit to this multi-year contract, and that I still truly believe that if he does win an MLS Cup with the Revs, whether it's this year or in the future, he's going to think about retirement because, he wants to finish what has just been such a legendary coaching career on top, and this would be a perfect way for him to do so. Winning an MLS Cup with the New England Revolution and finally ending the curse that they have, where this is one of the more decorated team tips yet to win an MLS Cup, despite being in 5 of them back in the early 2000s. Now, moving on in terms of the next news and talk about some of the signings. So this is something I kind of mentioned before. The San Jose Earthquakes acquired Jamiro Monteiro from the Union in exchange for up to $450,000 general allocation money and an international spot. Now, the amount that the Quakes gave up was a little bit higher than originally reported. Like, originally it was reported that the Quakes would only have to pay $250 GAM to the Union to get Jamiro Monteiro, but now it seems like the price has gone up a little bit. Though I will say that I think half of those GAM is performance incentive, so the Quakes actually only have to pay $200,000 right now, but the remaining $250,000 are just performance incentive, where if Monteiro meets the performance incentive, then the Quakes will give an additional $250,000 K of GAM to the Philadelphia Union. But either way, I still feel like this is a very low price for one of the more underrated number 10 in the league. And I've also have heard the story about Jamiro Monteiro and how he was definitely not happy during his time with the Union, and especially was unhappy with the way that they kind of signed a couple replacement for him last season. And that I've also talked about how the Union kind of had this good problem where they just have too many decent number 10, where they don't have it in enough minutes to get all their number 10 some starting minutes. And Monteiro definitely kind of saw that, and he kind of feel frustrated because he knows that the team is not going to give him more minutes, and maybe this is time for him to go somewhere else, which that is exactly what happened. In fact, I think he also requested that he wants to leave the team, so this is also maybe knock down the amount that the Union could have got from Monteiro, because again, to get a guy that they sign as a DP and sell him for that low amount to another team, that's kind of a big steal if you want to talk about what the Quakes of course did. And again, the Quakes this offseason, I mean, I was kind of concerned with some of the activity they have doing this transfer window where they weren't really active, and then recently they have started to sign some more players, but this is probably the biggest steal, and probably one of the biggest steal in the offseason, because again, Jamiro Monteiro, he is a guy that is a very underrated number 10. I mean, I know some people said that he works more as an 8 than a 10. I have no doubt the Quakes are going to play him as a 10, especially gave him a DP contract for him to join there, because again, the Quakes have just so many number 8s and so many midfield players that I just don't see how Monteiro is going to add in terms of the big headache that Almeida is going to have to figure out this season, with a lot of quality midfielder and not enough spots to put them all together. But also, I think this might be a sign that maybe Chofee's time with the Quakes could potentially come to an end in the summer. I mean, his loan, of course, is going to end in the summer, and it seems like they probably are not going to re-sign him. I mean, unless if they decide to put Chofee on the wing, which I've seen them done it before. I just don't see how they can keep both Chofees and Monteiro terms of the same spot. And I'm pretty sure Jamiro would not be appreciate the fact that, yeah, I come to a team looking for some minutes and want to be the star of the team, and you already have a guy that is a star of this team. And yeah, I mean, that would not be a pretty thing. But yeah, overall, I think it's a big win for the Quakes to get Jamiro Monteiro, though I think for the Union it's still not a bad deal, considering again they just have so many quality, the number 10 in their team, that it just feels like they had to let go of one to kind of satisfy the solution of having this good problem of having too many quality number 10 in your roster, or too many quality midfield in your roster. Now, moving on, in terms of the next news, is the New England Revolution. So they have signed Jozy Altidore off of free agency, and this should not be a surprising news because this has been talked about throughout the past couple of weeks, and it was made official this week that he is going to be joining the Revs. And this is definitely a signing that I think it'll help the Revs, especially on the depth. I mean, I know some people say that Jozy doesn't have it anymore. He's past his prime, which in some cases, yeah, he is kind of on the wrong end of 30s, and his time with TFC, especially down the stretch, was definitely not present. But for sure that if there's one guy that can definitely still motivate Jozy to be a lethal goal scorer, and to have him motivate that he can of course score goals with a team that is definitely going to give him more service compared to his latter years with TFC. It's definitely the New England Revolution and Bruce Arena. So yeah, I won't be surprised if Jozy is going to have a good season, although most likely he's going to be used as a super sub, because again, unless if they decided to sell Adam Buxa, which there could be a case that they could sell Adam Buxa in the offseason, I don't see Jozy Altidore being the main starter for this team, and maybe just use him as a super sub, which, if that's the case, man, that is such a luxury that the Revs had to get a guy that is a former U.S. men's national team star, and a guy that, even though I know he's past his prime, he can definitely be one of the more lethal weapon coming off the bench. So yeah, this is a really good signing that the Revs of course have got. Though another good signing that happened today, that we kind of knew that it was going to happen, but it was finally made official today, is Kevin Arriaga officially signed with Minnesota United. And again, this has been something that I've talked about even during the season preview, where it was just a matter of time before the Loons announced they have signed Honduran Kevin Arriaga. And I believe the only issue that they've been having is the whole work visa situation, but once it's been resolved, it was a matter of time for them to officially announce. And also, I won't be surprised in a couple of days the Loons will also announce Luis Amarilla to be back into this team, because that's another deal that's getting very close to being done. And both of these deals will definitely help the Loons for this upcoming season. Arriaga is going to be a guy that will definitely be a replacement for Ozzy Alonso that they lost this offseason. And then Luis Amarilla is a guy that hopefully will be the answer in terms of that number 9 position for this team, and a lethal goal scorer in that number 9 spot. Now, speaking of number 9, Sporting KC actually have signed a number 9 this week. They signed Serbian striker Nikola Vujnovic from FK Vuzdevic. I think that's how you pronounce it. I mean, I don't even think that's how you pronounce it. Anytime when there's a Baltic name, or in this case a Serbian name, gotta be careful when I say that. I'm gonna screw up in terms of pronouncing it. But overall, from what I heard, he's an okay kind of striker. I mean, he's definitely no Alan Pulido, but Sporting KC has been just so desperate in terms of finding a number 9, and let's see if he is going to be a guy that, again, I don't expect him to have the similar number as Pulido, because again, it's almost impossible to try to replace the quality that Alan Pulido has with this team. But if he can at least produce half of those and be a guy that maybe is like close to a 10 plus goal scored, then I think this is a good signing for Sporting KC, and maybe a signing that will get them over the mountain of being a team that finally win MLS Cup this season. Now, the New York Red Bulls have signed Brazilian midfielder Laquinas from Legia Warsaw, and I believe they also made him as a DP player, so they definitely value him to be a very decent player, which, again, we'll see whether or not if that's going to be the case, because I don't really know a lot about this guy. And again, the Red Bulls, this also is kind of an interesting signing because, as I've mentioned in my video earlier, talk about each team that has a big hole to fill. The Red Bulls, one of the big holes that they still need to fill is that striker position, and especially bring more attacking threat. And I don't know if this is going to be the answer to do so. I mean, he might be the answer. He might be a good deep line playmaker from what I think he is. But overall, getting a guy that will definitely solidify that midfield and will be a decent replacement. Decent replacement with Sean Davis, who they lost to Nashville this offseason. But in terms of the overall issue that they have for this upcoming season, which is the goal scoring department, yeah, that's something that they still need to look in the transfer market to try to address that issue. Now, CF Montreal have signed goalkeeper Logan Kentner. Remember Logan Kentner, the emergency goalkeeper that kind of play a big role for the Timbers, especially when the Timbers were down to like their fourth string goalkeeper, and they had to kind of call him as an emergency goalkeeper, and had a great game against the Quakes. Well, he is being rewarded by now signing an MLS team that is CF Montreal, though I don't know if he's going to throw himself in the hat in terms of that discussion of the goalkeeping position for this Montreal team. But he's definitely a guy that, in case if either Breeza or Pentimus goes down, we know Logan Kentner can be a guy that can step in an emergency role and be a decent goalkeeper in MLS. And then finally, in terms of some of the signings and some of the players that is leaving to another team. One player that I didn't write here on the board that's going to be going to Europe, but you probably already know it, is Matt Turner going to Arsenal. It was confirmed that he is going to be going in the summer transfer window. But for Toronto FC, they also decided to loan Aro to Santos. Now, for the past couple of season, I've heard that TFC wants to loan Aro back to Brazil, and unfortunately it just never happened. Well, now it seems like it has finally happened, and it's kind of a weird timing too, because they still need some more depth in terms of the back line, and I think Aro is definitely a good utility player for this TFC team in the back line, but now they decided to loan him to Brazil. So that's kind of an interesting timing that they decided to get something that they've been wanting to do for a very long time. But again, he's only going to be going on loan with the team and going on loan as one of the more well-known team in Brazil, and we'll see whether or not if he can do well, where it can maybe increase his transfer market of him potentially sold off in the future. And then moving on in terms of the next news and talk about some re-signing, the Portland Timbers has officially re-signed Sebastian Blanco to a new DP contract. So that's a huge exhale if you're a Timbers fan, because this has been the thing that's been a big question for this Timbers team throughout the entire offseason, is whether or not if Blanco is going to get a new contract. And for me, I never had any doubt the fact that he was going to get a new contract. I mean, I know that he is still trying to recover from his knee injury, and I know the knee issue that been serviced this offseason, but there was no way in the world the Timbers are going to let go of Sebastian Blanco. Like, he is literally the hair of Diego Valeri for this team, and that it's unsurprised that they decided to sign him to a new DP contract. And now they're also hoping that he can, of course, stay healthy, because again, Blanco has had some injury issue in these last couple of years, and if it is true in terms of that knee issue that was discovered in the off season, yeah, this could be a little bit concerning if you're a Timbers fan, seeing him maybe sideline a little bit more than you would think he of course would be, because again, it will be interesting to see whether or not if Blanco is going to be in the starting 11 on opening day. I mean, I'm assuming most likely it could be the case, but again, depending on, we'll see how that knee injury is, and whether or not if he has fully recovered from that he suffered in the playoffs. And then, of course, the Quakes re-signed K. Cal to a new contract. Again, no-brainer here. The Quakes have to lock down probably their biggest asset and a player that they know that they can sell off to Europe for a big amount of money in KCal. And, this year I also think it's going to be a big season for KCal too, because he kind of had that breakout year last season, and we'll see whether or not if he can, of course, continue that breakout season. Because if he can continue that, then man, he is going to be a guy that I think could be the latest American to make a big money move to Europe. And this might be the first time we actually see the Quakes actually develop a decent homegrown player and then eventually sell them off for a big amount of money. But as of now, it makes perfect sense to lock him up to a new contract, which I think it's going to take him all the way to the 2024 season. And again, if he is going to develop to a player that his potential has, there's no way he's going to stay past to the 2024 season. But this is also just an example of a team when they have like a big asset that they can, of course, sell them off, lock him down into a new contract for a very long time, so that you can of course get the full amount if you eventually decide to sell it off in a couple of years. Now, moving on in terms of some of the transfer rumors. Now, there wasn't a lot of transfer rumors this last week, but the one transfer rumors that was talked about during this last week is the Tati Castellanos situation. So NYCFC, of course, is reported to turn down an 11.5 million bid from River Plate to sign Tati Castellanos, and I think this is a different bid compared to what I heard, that Palmeiras decided to once again sign Tati Castellanos again, and they offer him a little bit more money, but once again NYCFC decided to turn it down, and now it seems like they're turning down another offer from a different team, that is River Plate, and the amount, it's $11.5 million, but there's also a 50% sell-on fee. So if you think that this is low, it's actually not that low if you include the 50% sell-on fees. But from what I also heard is that NYCFC is demanding $15 million and a 50% sell-on fee as well if River Plate is going to try to get Castellanos. And we'll see whether or not if River Plate decide to accept it. I mean, for me, I feel like the smart thing for NYCFC to do is just keep Tati Castellanos until the summer transfer window. I mean, I know I've said that I was kind of surprised that they kept him, because I would assume that he would get more offer, and something tells me that there's already a lot of offer that we probably have not known of, but NYCFC just kind of keeps saying no. And if that's the case, well, you might as well just wait until the summer transfer window, because again, the summer transfer window is usually when those big European club is going to be calling in, and they tend to spend more compared to during the winter transfer window. And not to mention, if NYCFC want to have a shot of winning CONCACAF Champions League, they need Tati Castellanos, and it's proven. But in that first game against Santos play, that he is still the heart and soul on this attack for this NYCFC team. Now, moving on, in terms of talking about some general news that is not related to signings and transfer rumor, the U.S. Open Cup second round pairing has been officially announced. So, it's kind of weird that the U.S. Soccer Federation decided to announce the second round when the first round hasn't even begun yet. But they announced the second round pairing, and there are definitely some interesting pairing there. I mean, I was actually really hoping that the Oakland Roots was actually able to play their U.S. Open Cup second round at home, but it seems like they are actually going to be playing away, and they're actually going to be playing in South Carolina for their second round U.S. Open Cup pairing, which that is kind of a weird matchup, and in some way, I feel like that probably shouldn't happen, because the whole point of the U.S. Open Cup, and at least what the U.S. Soccer Federation are trying to do, is they want to limit the travel for some of these teams. So to put one team that is literally playing another team from across the other side of the country, that probably is not part of their initiative of trying to limit travel between these teams. But nevertheless, I guess maybe again, this is going to also take place in April too. So this is also going to be a problem for the Roots, where, they might have to travel across the other side of the country to play a U.S. Open Cup game, and then they might have to play a USL Championship on the weekend. And the thing about the USL Championship is that not a lot of these teams travel across the country, at least for the past couple of seasons. I mean, the USL Championship is not like the MLS, where there's a lot of matchup. So this is going to be something that is going to be very new to the Roots, but also could be something that they will really hate because, again, it's going to be always difficult to travel across the other side of the country to play a game, and then on a short week you might have to travel back or travel to another city to play a road game only on a 3-day rest. But other than that, the other thing I was hoping for the second round pairing is that at least that there's going to be a U.S. Open Cup game that I can ground hop locally, because when I look at the first round pairing, there literally is no U.S. Open Cup game that is going to be happening in the first round in the Bay Area. Like, the closest one is actually down in LA and down in San Fernando Valley, which no thanks to that. But at least in the second round, I heard that Bay City FC, who currently plays in the NISA, they're going to be playing a home game there. You also have the Sacramento Republic playing a home game, and I don't know if Monterey Bay is also playing a home game. I might have to double check in terms of the second round pair, but if they're playing a home game too, I might end up going to there. But at least I have more option in terms of ground hopping a U.S. Open Cup game compared to the first round, where I basically had no option because there's just no U.S. Open Cup first round pairing that, or no U.S. Open Cup first round game that is in the Bay Area, or at least in an area that is like 100-mile in the radius of where I live. Now, the Seattle Sounders have unveiled a new training facility set to open in 2024, and they even kind of made a proud slogan saying that, we're opening this training facility to build for 50 years of this team. And it's a nice gesture of them doing that, because, the Sounders are going to be celebrating their 50th anniversary in 2024. The same goes with the San Jose Earthquakes too, and all those teams that were founded in 1974. I mean, it's definitely great to see that of course will happen, and I can't wait to see how the Quakes are going to celebrate. Especially, I hope the Quakes can celebrate by the same way what the Sounders are doing, opening up a training facility to celebrate their 50th anniversary. And I've already looked at the training facility that the Sounders had. My oh my, it's one of the best training facility I've seen, and that's actually says a lot, because there's been a lot of good training facility that each MLS team has got, but the one that the Sounders had, it's right up there near the top tier level as the best training facility an MLS team has so far. Now, St. Louis has announced their stadium name as Centene Stadium, and I believe that the company Centene is a health insurance company, so I think that's three or the fourth stadium in MLS that has a stadium sponsor named after a health insurance or anything that's related to the health department. But nevertheless, it's a decent name. I mean, it's definitely more decent than Lower.com Field or TQL Stadium. Like, no offense, Columbus or Cincinnati, but Centene Stadium, it fits much better, and especially, I guess, the locals will call this the Ceni now for short. But nevertheless, congratulations to St. Louis to finally get a stadium sponsor, and I believe it's going to be a 15-year stadium sponsor deal that Centene has to put their name in terms of that building, and the building that St. Louis is going to be playing in when they come into MLS in their expansion year. And then finally, the last news that we're going to talk about in the news of the week regards the situation with Andy Polo and the Portland Timbers. Now, I am going to do a season preview of the Portland Timbers a little bit later tonight. In fact, I'm going to do it after when I finish record this video, and I'll talk a little bit more about the Andy Polo situation. But it seems like we now know a little bit more about that situation, and it's not great news for the Timbers front office, because the Timbers front office eventually did cut their ties with Andy Polo. But what's even worse about this situation is that there is a report that they actually cover up this situation, and that this alleged domestic violence that Andy Polo, of course, committed happened all the way back in May, and the Timbers kind of cover this up for a very long time before admitting that they can't cover it up anymore, and that they kind of admit that, yeah, we knew that this was going to be an issue, so we're sorry. So, and the only way we'll prove that is we'll just kind of cut ties with the players. And this is already on top of just so many scandals that this Timbers front office has had. I mean, that front office and that ownership under Mira Paulson has been under a lot of heat for the past couple of months, and especially there's still kind of a war going on between the Timbers army and the Timbers supporting exec group, alongside with the Timbers front office in terms of some of the bad things that has gone on. And yeah, I mean, it's getting ugly in terms of the situation that Timbers has to deal with. And it's such a shame that it is the case, because the Timbers have one of the most hardcore fan base in the league, and that, you know, they better hope that, you know, this off the field situation that they're dealing with is not going to carry on to the on field product. But it's going to be interesting to see how this front office is going to repair the relationship between them and the fan base, because right now I think it's at an all-time low with just numerous repeated ongoing situation that this Timbers front office did, that, you know, it's kind of sickening to see that has happened. But either way, hope you guys enjoy this video. If you do, make sure you guys like, smash the subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of all these news? And as always, if there's any news I didn't mention here on the board, let me know in the comments below. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.